Hey guys, we're out here at Logoly State Park. This is Devin. Starting at about 1:30 p.m. we're gonna check out a few spots, look for some dragons and some damsels. This first spot is actually right behind our visitor center. Right now it's just kind of a grown-up little spot. We bush hogged it back in the fall. We're gonna hopefully turn it into a native wildflower section for pollinators. Just kind of a pollinator garden. We're just going to survey back in here for a little bit. There's a retention pond just over that hill where that dead log is. We're going to look around here, see what we can find. The other day I had an arrowhead spiketail. Always a good place for common whitetails and fragile forktails and citrine forktails. We're going to look around here, see what we can find, see what we can videotape. This is kind of an experimental vlog. Not really sure how these are all done. I've watched a few nature vlogs on YouTube. We're going to try to see if we can recreate that and get a good video of some of our kind of mid-spring odes down here in southwest Arkansas here at Logoly State Park. Okay, so right off the bat we have a damsel. I haven't really looked at it closely. I'm zoomed all the way out just for scale, so you got to look really closely for some of these smaller damsels. Pretty sure it's a forktail. We'll see if we can even get an identification. We'll zoom in a little bit, and yeah, that's about how it goes. So guys, just before we get to this retention pond, I spotted an arrowhead spiketail. Had something in his grasp. He wasn't patrolling over this little runoff creek. Whitetail just flew by, female. He just flew. I don't know if you guys saw him fly. He did just land again. We're going to try and zoom in, get a little closer. A lot of dragonfly activity. I'm hoping they do not disturb this spiketail. I'd like to get a good footage of him. We're going to zoom in, then we might try to get a little closer. That of course is not him. I got a little lost on this video. Okay folks, bear with me. There he is, okay. There's an arrowhead spiketail, just landed. It's nomming on something, but cool dragon, one of our bigger dragons. We've seen a lot of these in April. We had a little bit of discussion on when their flight season actually is. Records showed that they didn't emerge until end of May, but to be honest with you, this is probably a more expected record than what we've seen. We'll zoom out. We'll see if we can find something else. Lots of male whitetails I've seen so far. Let's see if we can find some of those and get some footage. You know what? There's one right on this little. I did flush the arrowhead spiketail. But if you're out looking for odes, you're out oding. A nice little field right now where you've got water. Of course, anywhere where there's water, you're going to have odes. But this nice little field is making a great habitat for these arrowhead spiketails. I've lost my whitetail, so I'm going to pause the video and relocate it before I get more footage. But that's kind of where I came from back there. Okay guys, here's our little pond I was talking about. Not very big at all. Just a little retention pond at the back of the visitor center. Hoping to turn this area into a nice little pollinator garden. Planted some coneflower, had black-eyed Susans. We've had a lot of partridge pea come up as well. Larval food plant of the little yellow, so get a lot of those. And hopefully this will be very fruitful. Also there's some butterfly wheat here. Now just adjacent, we've got some of this. There's a whitetail right there. So here we have a male whitetail. Just sitting there soaking up some sun. It's a neat one. Pretty common. One of our, of course, the common whitetail. I think the common whitetail has been recorded in all of Arkansas's 75 counties. Very common. We have several prolific dragons like that, and damsels. They're very widespread. I think I saw a clubtail fly down in this little wet area back here. rained recently, so a little bit of standing water. Typically you can find some forktails in these little grasses and sedges. I didn't relocate that clubtail, but I did find a female whitetail here in the grasses and a dead pine. So there's the female whitetail. A female doesn't really ever get that that white color, that really light blue color. And of course the male whitetails have a major band on each wing, just one, while the female has several. The most similar to the female whitetail here in Arkansas is the female 12-spotted skimmer, and the differences for those are in the size of the abdomen. The little white pale spots on the sides of the abdominal segments for this are broken up, while the white spots on the 12-sided or the 12-spotted, that side is just a continuous pale spot. It's not broken up. But I've never recorded a 12-spotted here at Logoly. That would be a really cool one to get. Okay, we're gonna walk down to the pond real quick and see what we can find down there. This is the first eastern pondhawk that I've seen that is almost all blue. I've seen males that are green, but they're all the males are just about now mature enough to be in their adult color. Looks like he's got a little green on the thorax. This is near that retention pond still. Haven't quite made it to the pond yet. This guy kind of stopped me. This is Logoly's pond. Only about a 2-acre pond. There's a boardwalk over there, but the water's receding. Our levee is leaking. This is a great place for dragons and damsels alike. It's a lot of emergent vegetation. It's growing right now. There's not so much right now, but typically we get a lot of good stuff growing in the water. So there's a lot of places for dragons to hide as larvae, and damsels as well, and then they can crawl out and emerge. I don't know if you can pick it up in the video, but there's quite a bit of activity going on the banks right now. Mostly some whitetail. There's a basket tail flying. Dragons are very hard to pick up in flight. It's a basket tail flying right there. This is a terrible angle of what looks to be an Oklahoma clubtail. He's currently obelisking. Oh, now he's not. I actually don't know that I've recorded too many Oklahomas doing this rather odd behavior, thought to be helpful in thermoregulation, but to be honest with you, he is in complete shade. So, and it's, I mean, my goodness, it's a very pleasant 70-some degrees right now. Don't have a great angle on this. I believe it's Oklahoma. You can see the sides of the abdominal segment 8 and 9, which are the biggest parts of the club, are all yellow, and it's not a very large club. I do believe this is an Oklahoma clubtail. See the shadows of other dragons. There's a whitetail just flew overhead. Sorry about that. Trying to keep this still as to not to nauseate viewers. Whitetail flying by. There's a female and a male. Had a blue corporal that I was unable to relocate for footage. I'm going to zoom over here to this basket of this whitetail that just landed. Kind of shrouded in some grass. We'll focus on the grass, of course. Yep, there he goes. We're going to head down the bank, see if there's anything else we can find. If we have time, we might get to go check out the levee, which is over there. More emergent vegetation along the levee. Provides lots of space for damselflies. We caught a turquoise bluette here last week, and I believe there was a Cyrano darner flying here last week. Much smaller than the swamp darners that are flying, but we'll just have to see. Here's what appears to be a female blue corporal. Yeah, definitely looks like a female. Finally was able to find one of these for footage, but the male still eludes me for this outing. But these are common. These will fly till about the first week of May, which we're approaching. We'll lose a lot of our spring flyers during that time. She did return, but not to the exact same spot. We'll probably lose a lot of our early clubtails down here. We'll lose the I know we'll lose the ashy and Oklahoma clubtails will be far less common. Blue corporals, a lot of those early flyers will stop flying around the second week of May here. But we've enjoyed their flight season so far. Okay guys, so this is one of our many sandy bottom spring-fed creeks here in the park. And often I can see sand dragons here. Cruisers will patrol these creeks. Seen fawn darners here. But the most popular species that you'll find here is the Ebony Jewelwing. And when I do a trail hike, that is the species that just wows and amazes everybody. Very, very beautiful damselfly. A lot of people think it's a butterfly at first. I guess there's a general assumption about insects. If it's a beautiful insect, it has to be a butterfly. But dragonflies can be equally, in my opinion, more so beautiful than any other insect. But I'm quite biased. Okay, we're not far from where I actually took the video of the creek. We've got a male Ebony Jewelwing, and very flighty. In fact, if a cloud goes over, he'll probably fly. It's happened a couple times. It's a vireo. Sounds like a yellow-throated. But this is a pretty male. I like it when they do their kind of like their wing flex and show off. I think that's a territorial thing, but I'm not quite sure. We got a little bit closer, just kind of, ooh, too close. We're still going closer. Okay, sorry about that. Pretty, pretty, pretty damselfly. He's about 4.5 feet up on a hop-horn beam. Pretty neat little guy. One of my favorite damselflies. Probably my favorite damselfly family. I like the American ruby spot, and that's hope he just flew. I should have been focusing on that. Carolina wren, interrupting once again. Oh, there he goes. Awesome. There's another one on the other side of the bank. You might see. Oh, there he goes. Very graceful flight too. I can sit here and watch these for days. But don't have that time. If we could get footage of that Carolina wren, that would be fun. I don't see him though. Certainly hear him. So we've got a female painted skimmer on this retention pond trying to lay her eggs. But there's 9-10 whitetails here just chasing her off. You can see some of them flying by. try and relocate that painted skimmer. Interesting behavior here. Oh, a female whitetail flew into the fray of the males. It's quickly classed by one. Then proceeded to try and lay eggs in the algae. Was chased by another, classed by him. And yeah, so I don't know where she's at now. Probably just trying to find a quiet place to lay her eggs. Blue corporal in the mix. Don't know how much this is picking up, but just absolutely getting bombarded by the sea of, or the army of whitetails here. Quite a few of them guarding this pond. Of course, as soon as a male whitetail mates, the females will try to lay her eggs, and the males will definitely try and guard the female, but that one was just unsuccessful. Just too much space. Sorry, had a whitetail perched, but pretty interesting observations. Don't know if you saw it. Painted skimmer just flew into frame. Having a very hard time finding a position. Oh, I think you found one. This is getting to be quite an interesting game. I don't know how much of this part of the video is going to get added. Okay, we got the painted skimmer is perched. Nice. Focus. Focus. Painted skimmer. Honestly, I got my first photograph of one earlier this year. I'd seen him the last couple of years here at the park. And my first photograph of one this year, now getting video footage, is really awesome. Species I don't see, I don't think it flies very often. I don't think it's just terribly, from my limited experience, it's not terribly accommodating species for photography documentation. I think she was knocked off her perch by a whitetail. I think this is going to be the last dragon we review or we photograph video. And this is actually a yellow-sided skimmer. Neat species. Not wanting to focus. There's a lot of things to grab onto here. When I zoom in, kind of in a little grassy field by the retention pond. Neat species, new. I usually don't see these flying until really late May. But again, I think this is just more typical than what records would suggest. And we've seen a lot of that on the Facebook group for the Arkansas dragons and damsels, which is good. We're getting a bit more accurate data than what the historical records have shown. So these have certainly far exceeded my own personal flight dates by at least a month for this species, for the arrowhead spiketail. So we're getting good data. Citizen science is prevailing. I'll add a lot of these to iNaturalist and maybe Ode Central. Ode Central is having a lot of bug fixes right now. I know I've promoted that, but they unveiled their renovated database, online database, and there's a few bugs with it. Hopefully those will get ironed out pretty quickly, because these are some good records as far as early flight dates, which may actually be more indicative of the species' actual flight range, which would make this a much longer flying individual than what was previously thought, I guess, in Arkansas. Alrighty, this is going to be a good conclusion, good one to end on. Good species. Saw quite a few different species. I think highlight for me had to have been the painted skimmer footage. Arrowhead spiketail is cool to see as well, and get video of him. Oh, good. He relocated. Focus is a little better. I can grab that grass right there. Not that grass. Whatever leaf that is right there. But good species, about maybe 10 species. Good footage, I think. We'll have to see the review it, but I think pretty decent footage of the Ebony Jewelwing too. Well, thank you for watching. This has been a little dragonfly, damselfly tour of Logoly State Park. If this is successful, we might try to do some more of these. Maybe make a vlog out of it. We'll see. Alright, thanks.